Hello, everybody, and welcome back to I've Got Next. This young lady I've done a couple of podcasts with, and that's how we met. Nelld Design and Destination. I would describe her as your one-stop shop if you want to go anywhere in this country or anywhere out of the country. Definitely reach out to her. So please tell us a little bit about your business.
Mhm. So it's a travel agency, and I fully own Nelld Designs and Destinations. So any group travel, any vacations, any trip event planning that is needed, I am pretty much your go-to. Whether it is you've already booked a trip and you didn't go through me, which is fine. But if you've already booked a trip and maybe you need some ideas for when you get there, like where to eat, or any excursions that you want to actually try or you've heard about. I'm also that person where, you can reach out to me and I can kind of help plan your itinerary when you get there as well. So just your one-stop shop for your whole travel, vacation, group trip, etc.
Okay. How long have you been doing it?
I have been doing it since May of 2018. And it all started from planning a bachelorette party. And I'm literally leading this whole thing. And I really want to see how I can make money off of this because planning takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of communication with the parties because of the group, of course, that was going. And so just leading that whole organization of the trip, I enjoyed it. And I was just like, how can I make money off of this? So I actually reached out to the travel agent that I was partnering with, and I had some questions, and she answered those questions for me. And I was like, well, how do I get in? And that's kind of how Know That Designs and Destinations kind of started.
Okay. Okay. So before then, did you do anything that would push you in this direction? Like,
Yes. So I was always traveling. I was always going on vacation. And it was just all this money that I was actually spending, I could pay myself. So it wasn't that I just started traveling once Nail the Designs and Destination was created. I was already traveling. And so when I was introduced or when I started working with a travel agent, it was more so I can do this. So why not do this? And then also too, a lot of people see a lot of my posts and they always see me on the go. So it was a matter of kind of trying to educate people to say, you can do this too. It doesn't take an outrageous amount of money to travel. I think a lot of people have that kind of stigma like, oh no, I don't have, or I don't save, or, maybe I just don't know. And for me, I really wanted to educate people to say, hey, anybody can travel. It's just all about planning. It's all about, if you know where you want to go, that's half the battle. But if you don't know, educating you on places to go that will fit your budget.
okay, so let me ask you a question then, because you just said
Mhm,
something that
mhm,
I find interesting because I was one of those people.
uh-huh.
What is one of those misconceptions that people definitely should not have? Like they can't
Hmm.
go out of the country or they shouldn't go this place during this time. But what is like a misconception that you run into and you're like, oh no, this is wrong? And let me educate you and let's get it moving forward.
Mhm. I think the biggest misconception is you need thousands of dollars to travel out of the country. And another misconception is it's cheaper to travel within the United States than it is international. That is oftentimes not true, because a lot of times when people are traveling, they want kind of the one stop shop, the all inclusive resorts that you would get internationally as opposed to somewhere within the United States. The closest thing to, and it's not even all inclusive, but the closest thing to within the United States when you're traveling is full service hotels, right? So full service means that, breakfast is included, or, if you're traveling and you have to drive and park, that parking is included. So a lot of times everything is a la carte when you go to these hotels. So maybe they have restaurants within the hotels, but you have to pay for that additional service. Or, they have a parking garage that you have to pay for. So the closest thing within the United States is full service hotels. But a lot of people think that it's more expensive to travel outside of the United States than it is within the United States. Those are the two biggest misconceptions.
How long should people start planning a trip, just
Oof.
in general? Like, give me a trip and then give me a group outing because I know
Mhm.
I've been on, like, family reunion
Mhm.
boards, and I'm like, "This is 3 months away. This is not gonna work." So, give me, like, a
Mhm.
group trip versus, uh, a
Mhm.
trip with, like, just friends, but, like, nothing
Yeah.
huge versus, like, smaller.
So I would encourage for groups, I would definitely encourage the earlier, the sooner that you know, the better. And when I say groups, I'm talking about maybe 5 rooms or more, right?
Okay.
So when you start to get into those group scheduling or the group trips, it's mainly helping you with group rates, right? So if you're working with a travel agent, they most likely can reach out to the vendor or the supplier, which would be the hotels or the transportation companies, etc., to kind of say, hey, I have this group coming. I want them to stay together. And how can I get a better rate because I have so many people coming and these rooms are going to be booked? So I would definitely say the sooner the better. Um, Typically, when you're working with a travel agent, the last payment has to be due 45 days before travel. And that's only because a lot of the times when you're working with travel agents, we're in the know. So we're insiders. So we have these partnerships with these vendors or these suppliers. And so they're basically saving these rates for travel agents. So when people try to go in on the website and just book themselves, it's mainly just whatever that rate is that day. That's the rate. It fluctuates. It goes up and down. Excuse me. But once you kind of put in your deposit, your rate is locked in. And then there's also ways if the rate does whatever, if it drops, then pretty much we would have that notification. And then we say, hey, you can save some money because this rate dropped, as opposed to you booking it yourself. And then, of course, you're not really knowing that the rate has gone up or gone down because you've already just booked it and you paid it in full. And you're like, okay, well, I'm good to go. So I would strongly encourage for groups, definitely kind of booking it way, way in advance because with group trips, you'll have a group chat of 15 to 20 people. You get closer to the date, it's probably just you and 4 people, or you and 6 people, and the group has dwindled down tremendously. So I would say the sooner the better. With smaller groups, like maybe if it's just couples trips or maybe if it's just 4 of you guys going, it's just a smaller group. I would definitely encourage you to say at least 6 months in advance. A lot of the times when people try to say, hey, I want to book over a year out, you can book typically the hotels, but flights are not out yet, right? So I always encourage all of my clients to try to do the whole group package deal. So that would include, of course, especially if it's international travel, that would include, of course, the hotel, the flight, and then also round trip transportation once you get to your destination so that you're not really piecemealing it. And so everything is all inclusive with your transportation when you get there to and from the hotel, your flight, and then also, of course, your hotel or your lodging.
What you just said, I never think about when I go out. It's the transportation. I never think about transportation.
Mhm.
I think about meals. I think about
Mhm.
shopping. I think about the hotel. I know how much
Yeah.
the flight is. But
Mhm.
that you said transportation a couple times, and I never think about that.
Mhm.
And
That's
plus
something to consider anywhere you go, right? Even so, I live in like the metropolitan area. I mean, I'm cool with hopping on a train, but you might have people who are uncomfortable with that, right?
mhm.
Especially with the pandemic, and then also to just being nervous about getting lost in a city that you've never been to. So within the United States, I would always encourage if you are not renting a car, I would always, always, always encourage trying to navigate local public transportation, if it's a train, of course, because that's just easier to get around in the city. But if you're not comfortable, then of course, you'd have to do your Lyfts or your Ubers or, finding a car service. But with that, you're going to have to wait, right? Or you're going to have to pre plan for you to get picked up, to be taken somewhere. I always encourage, especially if it's within the United States and it's not like all inclusive or you don't have a car, I would always encourage trying to stay within pretty much like a 5 mile radius of where you want to go within that city. So, perfect example is in New Orleans. We know that, the hot spot or the liveliness is around Bourbon Street. So, try to pick a hotel that's near there, but not on Bourbon Street so that you have a chance to rest and be away from the noise, but also it's walking distance so you don't have to worry about catching Ubers or Lyfts.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Very good information. So you said you started this what makes 4 years, right? About 4 years ago.
Mhm.
Do you have a time where you thought about just quitting? Like, I can't do this. It's not the
Oh,
thing that's important
absolutely.
to you. Tell me about that story.
Absolutely. So it was a time where I was so in on balancing work, like my regular 9 to 5, and then also my travel agency. So, running a business takes a lot of time. And I enjoyed the fun side of things, right? I enjoyed the planning, but that takes time. So it's about like navigating when a client reaches out to you and what you have going on in your personal life and kind of having that balance. So for me, it was a little bit before the pandemic, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm trying to really thrive in my 9 to 5. I'm working long hours. I'm burnt out from my personal and my work life. So how do I have enough time to devote to my business? And so during the pandemic, I mean, literally, I was just like, you know what? I don't know. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe people had stopped traveling, but I actually took that time to really dive into trainings and certifications. I mean, I was on every training because when you're a travel agent, you become an insider. And so when people are not traveling, that's the time to learn more about when they reopen. What's new, what's being worked on during this pandemic. That now, when outside is open, which it is now, what's new and what can you tell your clients or what can you tell the public? Say, hey, you should try this. This is new and improved. I've taken this training. I've met with these vendor like VPs and these high stakeholders, and this is what they're offering, and this is why you should try this out. But I mean, during the pandemic, a little bit before the pandemic, I mean, I was overwhelmed. I was burnt out. And I was just like, I can't. When a client reaches out to me, I'm tired. Like, it's at least going to take me at least 48 to 72 hours to even respond. And I wanted my response rate to be me sending quotes within 48 to 72 hours from when someone reaches out to me. So yeah, there was a time and I was just like, my sister actually became a business partner, and I was just like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna start going through you. Like, I'm tired. I don't have the time to respond and be the entrepreneur that I wanted to be, especially with my customer service and my responsiveness. But I had to really just have a conversation with myself to say, listen, you enjoy this. So how are you going to balance time, and how are you going to kind of make sure that your 9 to 5 does not interrupt what you want to do within your business, which is the designs and destinations.
Definitely understand. So, okay, what does your team look like?
Mm-hmm. So, I am the owner of Nelld Designs and Destinations. So I am under a host travel agency, which is IntelliTravel. And
Mhm.
so my team, anytime someone says, hey, how can I do this? Then I pretty much will allow them to watch a video to really understand the business. And then buy into, of course, traveling and then making money off of traveling. And then also the aspect of anytime someone reaches out to you, because they're going to reach out to you to say, how are you doing this? I want in. And then that side of the business too, of having team members join the team, and then also kind of seeing what that legacy plan looks like as people are added to your team. So it's under the host travel agency, but you have full ownership of your own travel agency. So you are the sole owner of that part in that travel agency.
Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You also said you have a 9 to 5, so
Mm-hmm. That's
because
a very hectic 9 to 5.
yeah, we do the same thing because I believe you're in HR. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. So
So we
I
have some
am a
time.
manager of talent acquisition for a not-for-profit telecommunications organization. So I am over a team of recruiters. So that gets hectic. HR is just hectic right now in the space that we're in, especially, I guess we're out of the pandemic, but we're still in the pandemic. So, a lot of people are looking for jobs. A lot of people have reassessed what they are looking for in jobs. And so that's hard too, right? So I'm constantly talking to people. I'm constantly coaching my team. I'm constantly trying to create new strategies of our recruitment processes and also identify trends and areas of opportunity, with, of course, trying to obtain the talent for our organization. So it's a lot. It is a lot. It is a lot. You know that HR
Oh yeah,
is
definitely.
forever changing, forever being demanding, and people think like HR is so easy. It's really not.
I'll tell everybody, do not call me on Mondays. I'm coming to 80 to 100 emails from the weekend. Like it's just
Right.
work.
Mhm.
So, with your hectic work schedule, your
Mhm.
personal life,
Mhm.
and your business,
Mhm.
how did you learn? Because this is something that's evolving with me also. But how did you learn to take me time, like
Mhm.
away from the business, away from anything
Mhm.
personal, just I like for like mental health purposes?
I take vacations. I make sure when I'm on vacation, my next vacation is booked. I am a firm believer that you need breaks. There's no possible way, and there's no award either for burnout. And so, with the demands of personal life, with the demands of working, with the demands of being an entrepreneur, I want to be able to educate anyone that comes to me asking for travel advice. So, I'm going to become that influencer and I'm going to become my own product. So for me, I enjoy vacationing. I enjoy going to festivals. I enjoy visiting other people that are in different states. So for me, that's my me time. And if it's local, then I'm trying out new restaurants that I can actually say, hey, if you come into this area, try out this restaurant, try out this excursion, quote unquote, like try out this new place that's been open. So that me time is traveling. And that me time is literally just sometimes it's just maybe just turning off my phone and taking naps. I'm a firm believer in naps. I nap on vacation if I can. I nap when I am home before I even go to sleep. But I just have to take that time to really just get away from the noise. And traveling to me, that makes me happy. And that's my mental health breaks.
So her IG will be in the description. Go look at it. It looks like she's never at home.
I know. I
I look at her
know.
IG every once in a while, but I like your pictures when they come up. I'm like, where is she at? So
I
yeah,
know.
she definitely takes advantage of her. I tell people all the time when you're because you're in HR too. So when you
Mhm,
start your process of looking for work and getting there, and
mhm,
when you get to the point where they want to hire you and you like this company, you have to
mhm.
negotiate your time off.
Yep.
I tell people, please use it. Like you have to. You people listen. I will say this, and I think I've said this before in this podcast. When I was in retail management,
Mhm.
I had 4 months of vacation time built up.
Ooh.
I never used it.
Ooh. Oh my God.
Now I got lucky because they paid it out, but a lot
Mhm.
of companies don't pay it out anymore. You
Right.
lose it.
Right.
But now I take a lot more trips. I do
Mhm.
stuff for myself, things of that nature. So I would encourage anybody who has any trips to come to definitely reach out to you to see how everything is going on, or if you want to get into the travel business, because I've seen
Mhm.
that post too,
Right.
where you're like, I want to train some people. So that's a couple.
Mhm.
So um, I want to ask you about something. It's on both ends. I want you to look at it from your company and
Mhm.
also what you do in your 9 to 5.
Okay.
This month we're talking about quiet quitting and quiet firing. Are you familiar with? You're
I
laughing.
am.
I know you know.
I'm laughing because yes, I'm familiar. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, this month's topic on some of my write-ups on my website and things like that is quiet firing and quiet quitting.
Mhm.
Um, as a business owner, how do I word this? Do you think that it is beneficial for a business to quiet fire somebody, or do you think that you should definitely let them know what's going on and then look at it from the other thing that you do? Because I'm so tired of people quitting. But so I know you know what I mean as a
Yeah.
recruiter in HR. Look at it from both of those situations. What do you feel
Mhm.
about?
You know, I think so. There are two ends to this, right? So I think the quiet quitting from the aspect of an employee is they've already disconnected and unplugged. And so it's really up to their manager to really engage them and identify what their motivators are and what their why is. I think the pandemic has shown us that a lot of people are choosing, their work life. They're choosing themselves. They're choosing their families, as opposed to, we were literally, I think before the pandemic, we're just like working to live. Now we're really, really, really just identifying what that working looks like and what that living looks like, right?
Yes.
So, it's hard because I just took a training about having uncomfortable conversations, and also to really identifying kind of like that emotional intelligence, and kind of identifying when you see an employee being withdrawn, having those conversations. There should always be one-on-ones that is weekly, honestly. I know from an HR perspective, and meeting with my team. And sometimes it just doesn't even have to be about work, so that you can really understand and identify what's going on with your employee. Even if they're not sharing, I think it's the intelligence part of understanding whatever they're not saying, and understanding what that means, right? And hopefully they are able to have a relationship with their manager where they feel like they can identify and also be vocal with some of their issues, or maybe even some of their feelings about their current role. So I can understand that aspect of it. And on the other side of things, it's hard to, you can't really, if someone already has in their mind that they are steps out the door, there's really no saving them, because everything now is going to be adverse, right? If they want more money, or they want more time off, or if they want demands that may take time to actually achieve, if they've already gotten it out elsewhere, then they're already gone. But it's really those conversations proactively that need to be had, and then also being transparent and direct. I am a firm believer in not micromanaging my employees. And also too, if you, I mean, we have a hybrid policy, so please don't tell my CHRO, but we have a hybrid policy. But some days I understand if you don't want to commute into the DC metro area. Okay, I'm not going to force you to. If, as long as you're able to do your work wherever you're at, I'm perfectly okay with that. So I think it's also having that human aspect and human resources, that we always have to remind ourselves we're all human. We all need grace. We all are battling things that we are not mentioning or not speaking about. So it's how we balance that, and also how we respond to those things. But quiet quitting is a thing. I mean, there's no way around that. It's just a matter of having those conversations and being transparent and being direct, and hopefully having that trusting relationship between the employee and their manager.
Definitely. Couldn't have said it better. I love the fact that you talk about the relationship between the employee and their supervisor
Mhm.
or their manager, because if you have a relationship with each employee, you should see there's a difference.
Absolutely.
You can definitely see like something's not quite off.
Mhm.
It doesn't have
Right.
to be work, it could be personal, it could be a lot
Mhm.
of different things. But at least if you recognize it early enough, they can
Mhm.
be saved. But there's been times where I have been a person who's done this, been like, they
Mhm.
don't know, this is my last
Yeah.
somebody just made me a better offer and I feel better about somewhere else.
Mhm.
So how do you feel about quiet firing?
So, I don't really understand that aspect, because I think that you have to go about it in order, right? So, um, if an employee is not doing well, or if their performance is not meeting expectations, there has to be verbal conversations, and then there needs to be some type of development plan or performance improvement plan. So I don't really believe in the quiet firing. I just know from an HR employee, and professional is what I like to think that I am. Um, Employees know, like, if you are on a performance improvement plan, or you've had verbal conversations, you're in the hot seat. So there's no surprise, like, you walk into, the office, and all of a sudden you're having this conversation with the CEO, the CHRO, and it's time for you to go. So I don't believe in that aspect of it, because a good manager, in a good company culture, would be trying to help you, of course, to develop, to improve, and giving you that opportunity and that grace to improve. But if they're still not improving, or you've given them all the tools and resources that you possibly have, and they're just still kind of like, whatever. Like there's no sense of urgency in improving. I think that's common sense that, you're probably going to either lead to demotion or termination.
But do you understand how many times somebody is shocked that they're getting fired? I've seen it so many times, like shocked, but legally, and this is across the United States, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
you have the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and more than likely it's being put on paper. Even if you don't see the paper,
Absolutely.
somebody's putting it on paper. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like baseball, 3 strikes and you out. Just because you don't get walked out that day, it might be
Right.
because they have to backfill your role, because as a manager, as you know,
Right.
if you fire somebody, that now
Yep.
becomes your job on top of the job
Exactly.
you already have.
Yep.
So what they might be doing is trying to backfill that position.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen so many people who are absolutely shocked. But legally, I don't think there can be quiet firing.
No, not legally. That's what I'm saying. Like there should be a verbal and then documentation. And so everyone is made aware, because I mean, someone can easily sue.
Yeah,
Depending on, of course, on your state. If it's at will state, of course, that's a little bit different. But I just, you have to know that your performance is not meeting expectations, or you're underperforming. You just have to know. You have to.
completely agree. Do you have anything coming up that we need to know about as far as your company?
No, just travel, travel, travel. Reach out to me. But no, nothing that I can think of right now. Of course, I am, of course, always looking for people who are interested, who have been traveling, and they're like, you know what, it's time for me to start making money instead of just spending money on travel. So please reach out to me. I'm always looking for people to join the team, and to share any knowledge that I have, so that that person can be successful as well, with having their own travel agency.
What are your social medias and your website?
Mm-hmm. So my social media is so SHA underscore Nelld it. That's N as in Nancy, ELLDIT on Instagram. And then for Facebook, it's Nelld it Designs and Destinations. I have a page. And then also for my website, it is my first and last name. So Chanel, SHANELL, Felder, FELDER .intellitravel. So that's INTELLETRAVEL.com.
If any of you guys missed that, it will be below. Just to go and click on everything. So sorry. You know I'm trying to get over this last bit of COVID.
I know.
Um, well, thank you so much for coming on and telling us a little bit about your story.
Mhm.
We will definitely put everything in the bottom so you guys can find it. Please use your PTO. You're
Yes. Oh my
working, please
gosh.
use it. And if you need some help, she will definitely help you.
Yes. PTO, sick time, floating holidays, all that. Please use it, use it, use it. Especially know your HR policy. If it carries over, if it doesn't carry over, you've earned it, use it. There is no reward for burnout. Take that vacation.
We're gonna leave it on that. There is no reward for burnout. Take that vacation. I like that.
Mhm.
And as always, thank you so much, Chanel, for coming on the
Mhm.
podcast. And I will see you guys later.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye.